Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and today we're going to take another look at Mars's upcoming square to Uranus. Mars is in the sign of Aquarius, making a square to Uranus and Taurus this week. I'm going to pull up the real-time clock, show you when it's forming, when you'll probably be noticing or feeling its presence. And then today, as we already looked at Mars-Uranus in a kind of archetypal vacuum, we are going to take a look at a tarot spread and an I-Ching reading that I did that I use in order to refine and shape my understanding of this upcoming transit, and that I think you'll find interesting and useful. The way that I use these secondary techniques is I use them as an approach to understanding different angles of the archetype. It's not tell me what this means. When I approach the tarot, when I approach the I Ching, I say, help me understand something about this that maybe I'm not thinking about already. Because I have a million ideas about Mars Uranus. I've covered that transit, so many times, squares, oppositions, conjunctions, trines, etc. Seen it in transit a million times. So I have my set of ideas, but when you ask another oracle, hey, help me understand this in a new way, in a different way, you'll often find that the symbolism of a complementary divinatory language will shed some new light. So that's what we're going to do today. And hopefully this will enhance your understanding of the transit that's coming through this week, give you some new angles to look at it through. Anyway, before we get into it, as always, don't forget to lovingly impress your intentions upon the like button. Yeah, I like that one. That was one that someone left. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Welcome. Hope you'll enjoy the content. Love hearing from you guys. Share your comments on and reflections on this transit. Would love to hear those as well. Transcripts of any of my daily talks can be found on the website, nightlightastrology.com. Now, I'm going to take you over to the website because we're promoting two things today. One of them is going to be the live events that we have coming up. So if you go up to the events page, click on live talks, you will see that my next monthly webinar is coming up on March 14th, Neptune in Love. Just as the sun is about to conjoin Neptune in the middle of March, I will be doing an evening webinar from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern on the 14th. Talk is $20 to register. You get a live link sent to you for participation in the webinar. If you cannot make it live afterward, we also send you a replay link so that you can watch the recording if you cannot make it live. In this talk, I'm going to be looking at Neptune's significations in love, sex, and relationships as it appears in natal charts, as well as when it appears in transit. Say it's transiting your 7th house or Venus or the ruler of your 7th. So we will talk at length about Neptune. We already did Pluto last month in February. So if you missed that, you can also purchase that for recording. And you'll notice we also have a new shop page, which includes a whole bunch of stuff, including webinars that I did in the all these master classes that you see here are about 8 to 10 hours worth of content. You can get a bundle of them. My new book, which is coming out chapter by chapter in audio and text form a good year or so before it reaches print. You'll see that is available as well if you want to be in on the early release of that. So anyway, a bunch of cool stuff there. Hope you guys will check it out. And then secondly, you guys probably know that I am helping Ashley promote her program. You can learn more about Ashley and her herbal work. She is a clinical medical herbalist with a master's degree in clinical herbal medicine and has been teaching apprenticeship programs for about 14 years now, and took a little hiatus and is now back with a new course called the Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship. If you go to skyhouseherbs.com, click on that apprenticeship, you can learn more about it. We have friendly, affordable pricing options for people who need a sliding scale or something to work with within your means. You can learn more about that at the bottom of the page. There's also an early bird sale going on. We encourage you to use. Classes start there by April 24th. And if you stick around after today's video, I've been tagging an interview that I did with Ashley onto the end of all my daily content. So you can stick around and learn about her work, the program that's upcoming if you're interested in learning more about plant spirit medicine. Okay, well, on that note, let's now turn our attention to this Mars-Uranus transit, and then we're going to get into the readings that I did. And I have maybe one major takeaway that I got from these readings. So here we are on the week here. Wait, sorry, I'm all messed up. All right, so we have right here, as the week begins, we've got Mars in about 3-degree range of Uranus. And what we're going to do is just gradually take this forward so you can see the aspect comes through about Saturday, March 9th into Sunday, March 10th. So let's say that again. Saturday, March 9th, Sunday, March 10th. Mars is square to Uranus. And that transit will be building all week. And then give it 3 degrees of separation. You can take this forward to about March 14th, Thursday, when the two planets are 3 degrees apart, which is usually the separation range. Anytime, therefore, this week into next week, you could be feeling this with an epicenter around Saturday and Sunday. So, talked about this to start the week, but today what I want to do is take you into two of the different divinatory tools that I use to help fill out my understanding of transits. It's not that I sit down going, what does that transit mean? It's that I want to consult other divine languages and think about, how is the same concept or idea of these two planets, how can it be related to in a different set of symbols? That activity is fun for my brain. I absolutely love it. And it to me, all that it does is it sheds light on some aspect or dimension of the transit that maybe it's not at the forefront of my consciousness. Either that, or if it amplifies something that's already there, that's also helpful, because I'll be like, oh, yep, my instinct is right. It's really this tarot spread I did, or the I-Ching reading, it is really amplifying the same thing I've been thinking about, which then makes me feel a little bit more confident to go in that direction. So it's always interesting to see what the secondary oracles bring, right? And it's an exercise that I think, if you're the kind of person who gets easily spaced out and overwhelmed, well, maybe it's not for you. But if you're the kind of person like me who likes creating associative pathways between different symbolic languages that I love and that all kind of inform one another, then it's really useful. Most of the time, for years, I have done this in the background and not necessarily I have not explicitly shown it to you guys, but I've been doing more of that lately. And so I hope you will enjoy this. So we're talking about Mars-Uranus. Let's just refresh on some of the most basic themes. You've got the planet of action, war, conflict, perseverance, challenge, action, right? Mars. Meeting the planet of revolution, defiance, originality, innovation, and sudden disruptions. So that's where you get that. Don't suddenly rip or tear Uranus. I remember, do you guys remember that video when I said that randomly? It still cracks me up. But yeah, you have that sudden, the sudden like accident, or a cosmic punctuation mark that is disruptive and distinct, and maybe even kind of aggressive, or what's the word I'm looking for? Invasive. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay, so those are the things that people get freaked out about. And I've already talked earlier this week, I already talked about, why I don't think we ought to be afraid, and why we need to be careful of thinking that the literal language of astrology will be present in the events that mirror. So watch that first episode on Mars-Uranus this week. But anyway, those two come together. They can also create moments of defiant originality and sudden strong actions taken on behalf of breaking the mold or breaking the pattern. When someone says, that's it, I've had it, I'm done, I'm walking out, like in Jerry Maguire when he says, who's coming with me? It's very Mars-Uranus. So you think about those things that are in the air right now and the light and dark of them. And here is what I came up with on the tarot level. So, and this is a story. The way I approach the tarot is different. I have different formats that I use. And this one, I wanted to tell a story. So I said, the story is going to happen in 4 parts. The first part is going to be about the first thing that happens in the story. Okay, so it's like a linear story that's being told. So the first thing that happens in this Mars-Uranus story that I'm asking the tarot to show to me is the 6 of Pentacles. This card can be read in a whole bunch of different ways. It could be looked at as charitable and someone who has more giving to people that have less, the providing of opportunity, or of money, or of wealth, or of, like charity, a kind of maybe some leveling or balancing of the karmic scales. Someone who has more is giving to those who have less. And this is an image of virtue. On the other hand, maybe this is a kind of like someone who's taking pride in being the big person who has so much to give, and look at, the special opportunities I can give to you, and someone who builds their ego on generosity. I mean, you could go that way. It feels a little, most of the time when I see the Six of Pentacles, it's usually not about someone who's being charitable to build their ego, but it can happen. So anyway, you have this interesting card. The story starts there. Now, I like that for Mars-Uranus in Aquarius and Taurus. I think, yeah, this is kind of progressive, action-oriented move, maybe on behalf of the underdog. Feels like Mars and Aquarius square Uranus and Taurus. Let me give to a charitable cause or something like that. Okay, so the next card that that I drew was the Four of Cups. This is interesting because, by contrast, you can see someone who is giving generously to people who are, eager to be in receipt of whatever he's giving, it looks like, and with their hands out. Then on the other hand, you have someone who is like not really, what do I want to say? This guy I don't know that he may not even be aware of something that's being given to him. So if you compare and contrast this, you get almost like a story of, I'm giving something generously, and these people are very like aware of it and eager and happy to receive it. This guy's being given something, but he may not be able to recognize what he's being given, or he's too proud or complacent. He's staring at what he has and not recognizing what's being given. You get the kind of sense of this guy might be given something special and may think that he's better than it, or not appreciate it, or not see it, or not recognize it because he's so fixated on what he has and maybe what he feels is lacking or what he feels he's owed. So really interesting. Aren't these interesting pictures of what people feel that they need or have or want or desire, what they can give, what they need, what they can receive, maybe what they're incapable of receiving, what they feel they're owed? Fascinating, right? So I thought that was interesting. So the story continues. I'm like I said, again, one of the things I do is I say, okay, let's tell a story in 4 parts. The first part is going to be the first part of the story. The second part is the Four of Cups. So the way I started reading this creatively, there's many ways you could read it, don't get me wrong, but I started reading this as like, someone is going to be giving something. There's an opportunity to be gifted something. You could miss it because of pride or ego or arrogance, or not feeling like you want to bow down to someone. It's like sometimes it's hard to be receiving gifts from people, especially when you feel like maybe there's jealousy or resentment, or you feel like you are just as capable as they are, or something. There's something that is making this Four of Cups gentleman, he's struggling to accept what's being given and might be missing it. Okay. The next thing that comes along is the Page of Pentacles. It's really interesting when you compare these two images, right? And I start to think, gosh, these two images really show if the Four of Cups represents someone who's not able to receive what's being given, and the Page of Pentacles represents someone with initiative, a young new person with a fresh idea. I actually see these two cards as sort of similar. The Four of Cups might say, you know what, thanks for offering, but I'm going to go in my own direction. I have my own project. Maybe that's foolish, right? Maybe that's foolish, because maybe you're missing out on something that's being given because you think you can do it alone, or you should go your own way. But on the other hand, maybe you're sitting there and going, yeah, I mean, it's a nice thing that's being offered, but I don't know. I think I want to strike out on my own. Do you see how you start to get the Mars-Uranus feeling from this? When something's being given, very Uranus and Jupiter and Taurus, by the way, some resources available to you, and you deny it out of pride, complacency, ego, and a sort of false place sense of needing to be sovereign and independent, you could miss what's being given and go off on your own. And then does it work out or not? Maybe not. On the other hand, maybe you take a hard look at what's being given. And even though it is a gift being given, you say, no, it's too important that I have some freedom, that I be able to go in my own way, right? That's interesting, because you're really getting right into the heart of Mars-Uranus, where questions with separation and independence and individuation and revolution are very important. Of course, Uranus and Taurus, Jupiter kind of close by, could be offering or providing some kind of meaningful, valuable resource. And then the question of independence relative to what's being given comes up. Do I want to enter into something where I'm beholden to someone else karmically, energetically? Am I being so arrogant and independent that I'm missing an opportunity? And then the final card was the Wheel of Fortune. This to me suggests that there are likely, this story, as I read it now, with this as the final card, it sort of suggests that, again, think about this: resources and opportunities available, and you're evaluating them. You're either receiving them or taking them. It could generate a kind of complacency or an inability to see the opportunity for what it is. And you could miss it because you get too hyper independent and filled with hubris and thinking, well, I can do this all on my own. I don't need that. And what happens? The Wheel of Fortune turns, takes you off in your own course. And it could be that the Wheel of Fortune is really such an ambiguous card in some ways. Let's just read it negatively and say the Wheel of Fortune turns and you miss an opportunity. You miss an opportunity because of pride and not being able to accept something positive when it's being offered. On the other hand, the Wheel of Fortune turns and it takes you into this new space in your life where you're more of the creative master of your own destiny. It's sort of like, I could see this sequence of cards coming up when someone gets a promotion, but it's going to come with more work and responsibility. And you go, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to start my own company. Okay. On the other hand, it could be that an opportunity comes up and you think, well, this is too slow. I should have more available to me quicker. There should be more of an opportunity. I deserve more. And so you go off your own way, you pass up the opportunity and you try to do things on your own and you fail. You fail because you should have taken a little bit of help. You should have taken a little bit of help and been more patient to receive what's being given and to grow and mature and develop over time into what you think you are worth, or being in receipt of what you think you're owed or due or capable of. Right. So it's really an interesting sequence, and it gets right to the heart of one of the main things about Mars-Uranus, which is the desire to do things on our own. I want to be independent. That's a Mars-Uranus theme through and through. I want to do things without anybody's help, or I want to do things quickly and without any help to my own detriment. So you see how the card sequence kind of mirrors that dimension of individuation. It's like, when you're parenting, there's times when you have to step back. You're trying to help your kid. I don't want your help. You go, okay, no problem. You let them go. They fall on their face. They turn to you and they realize instantly, should have taken that help. On the other hand, there are many situations in which it's exactly the opposite. I don't want your help. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll step back. And they do it and they prove to you, I can do this on my own. But you see how it's a fine line. And I don't know that there's a right or wrong. I don't know if we can even discern when it's the right time to. We learn either way, don't we? Isn't that an interesting thing to think about, though, right now, is like, what opportunities are in front of us, which are requiring patience, which are good opportunities, but ones that may require us to be a little bit humble. On the other hand, what are the opportunities in front of us to step out on our own in more bold or daring ways? The I-Ching reading that I did was came back, no lines changing, hexagram 46. I'm going to read to you a little bit about hexagram 46 because it's so interesting. It is sometimes called pushing upward. The word in Chinese, I believe, is sheng, and I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Probably not. The trigrams, there's 6 lines in an I-Ching hexagram, and the trigrams are, actually, you know what? I'll bring it up so you can see, because it's kind of neat. Here, I'm going to bring up a blank document, and I'm going to draw what the lines look like so you can see it. Okay, give me just 1 second. All right. Okay, here we go. Okay. So the lines look like this. If I can, oh no, here we go. We'll do the lines. Here we go. Hold on just one second. There we go. Okay, so the lines look like this in the hexagram. It's broken, solid. Sorry, my lines are a little crooked. Solid. And then 3 brokens. So the hexagram ends up, the lower hexagram is the 3 lines on the bottom. Sorry, it's kind of messy, but it gets the point across. All right, so now the broken lines are considered yin, right? And the yang lines are solid. And so you have the singular and the dual, the one and the many, reflected in the lines. So here is, we have, when you have 3 broken lines on top, that represents Earth. So you have Earth above, and the bottom trigram is called wind or wood. So when we have wind or wood beneath Earth, it's sometimes called the gentle, and the upper trigram is called the receptive. You have the image of wood pushing up gently through Earth, which is why we have the name of the hexagram, pushing upward. So here's the reading that I like, and this is Richard Wilhelm. It says the lower trigram sun represents wood, and the upper kun means earth. And again, please excuse my pronunciation. Linked with this is the idea that wood in the earth grows upward. So that is what this hexagram, although it is connected with success, is associated with: the effort of the will in slow, moderate efforts that lead to gradual pushing upward and success. In progress, the emphasis is on expansion. Pushing upward indicates a rather vertical ascent or direct rise from obscurity and lowliness to power and influence. So do you see how, when we pair this with the tarot reading, we get a similar image of someone who wants to push up from a lowly position to a more powerful one? And in the story we have, that I told with the tarot, we have the beginning of someone in a high position with money giving to people in a low position. The next card showed someone who's dissatisfied with a gift that's being given from above, which may suggest hubris and may suggest that someone wants to push upward to be in the prominent position themselves. Okay. Then we had the Page of Pentacles, perhaps representing that person who's going to go and try to become the successful person. They're going to start a business, or they're going to take off on their own. And then we had the final outcome, the Wheel of Fortune, which could indicate, depending on how this goes, depending on the intentions, it can indicate, rise of fortune or fall of fortune. If someone is trying to push upward from some kind of lower position, whether that's in knowledge or wealth or power or status, and they try to push upward because they want to be equal to those on top, and there's a kind of hubris and pride and ego involved, likely we're talking about the beginning of a cycle or activities that will lead to some kind of downfall or lesson about hubris. On the other hand, if the person is taking the initiative and saying, I'm going to grow and build something, and I'm going to do something more independently. There's an individual, maybe entrepreneurial instinct that's leading the way and saying, thank you, but I think I'm going to go in a different direction. And there's no pride. There's a kind of self-led conviction and modesty. Then maybe they reach success. And that's what this hexagram is all about. Let me read you more. So remember that the hexagram starts off by saying that when you push upward using your willpower, but with a kind of moderate, humble attitude, you reach success. Pushing upward has supreme success. One must see great people. So that would be like, model your effort and your will after people of great virtue. Fear not. And don't be afraid to do something on your own. If it's the time to do it, and you're modeling your efforts on virtuous, humble examples, then you have nothing to fear of going on your own. Anyway, it goes on to say the pushing upward of the good elements encounters no obstruction and is therefore accompanied by great success. But remember, it's the pushing upward of good elements. There's a difference between the person who says, I'm going to pass up an opportunity that's being given to me from heaven to empower me, from the gods to empower me, because I think I deserve more quickly or something like that. Okay, be careful. Pushing upward is made possible not by violence, but by modesty and adaptability. Since the individual is borne along by the propitiousness of the time, he advances. He must go see virtuous people. He can't be afraid to do this because success is assured. So asking for help is also a part of this hexagram. Look, go see people who have influence and power and ability who are also virtuous. And if you need to ask them for help, ask for help. But don't be demanding. Don't be pushy. Don't expect that if you're not given everything you think you need right away, that means that you should just burn bridges and go off on your own. I mean, so there's a lot of advice here about will and ambition. And let's see here. Within the earth, wood grows, the image of pushing upward. Thus, the superior person of devoted character heaps up small efforts in order to achieve something high and great. Adapting to obstacles and bending around them, wood in the earth grows upward without haste and without rest, but almost imperceptibly. You don't just see a bamboo stalk shoot up in 5 minutes. Thus, too, the superior person is devoted in character and thus never pauses in progress. Isn't that interesting? I love these kinds of things, guys. They really help me to think about the archetypes at a deep level. Do I know that Mars-Uranus has a lot to do with individuation, individual effort, willpower, and sometimes a kind of frustrated, arrogant lashing out because you feel like you are more, should be at a better place no, like I know all of that stuff, but isn't it amazing to see the way the tarot tells the story and the way that the I-Ching does? Yeah, so what does it look like when we feel like, I could be doing more, I could be achieving more, I could have more, I want to grow in a certain direction? And what does it look like to go in that direction with, a certain kind of humility, modesty, and virtue? And what does it look like to have to be, to be humble? I mean, I'm not someone who's like, you should start off scrubbing dishes in a kitchen for 30 years before you get an opportunity to, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't have to be that extreme. But isn't it true, though, that along the way, I mean, let me just tell you, when I first started doing astrology readings, there were several years in which, I literally had to take any and every type of situation that came my way. I worked some birthday parties with people who were disrespectful and drunk. Learned from those opportunities that, paycheck was a paycheck, but also that in time, I hoped that I wouldn't have to do certain things like that, and I didn't. But I had a teacher that said, when I really griped about it early on, that said, look, any opportunity is a good one for an astrologer. You learn about people, you learn about charts, and you learn about them in different settings. And I was in a kind of self-righteous complaining mood because I didn't like working at this particular birthday party I had to work at. You know what I mean? And I'm sure all of you out there know exactly what I'm talking about. Not that that's exactly what Mars-Uranus is about here, but it is about that fine line between pushing forward and doing so modestly and understanding that you have to be adaptable if you're going to grow into something lasting, strong, and virtuous and spiritually solid, So anyway, some good teachings, I think, available to us in this, and I hope this was enjoyable for you guys. Just another way of looking at the same symbols that we started off the week looking at. I'm going to leave it here. If you stick around after I sign off, you'll see an interview with me and my wife, Ashley, about her upcoming plant spirit medicine apprenticeship program. And we do have need-based tuition available for that. There's an early bird sale and stuff like that. So stick around, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye, everyone. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'm really happy to be joined by my wife, Ashley, who is an herbalist. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
And yeah, I'm really excited to be helping Ashley promote her upcoming program, which is something that you actually began teaching many years ago, this Herbal apprenticeship program. I think it was 2011 or 12 that it got started, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been over 10 years I've been offering this course, and yeah, it's my favorite thing to teach.
Yeah, and just to be clear, because some people on my channel, most people know you because you pop on here or there. We talk about herbs and astrology. There's an attraction in our marriage and an attraction in the subject matter that is old. Like we've been together for 14 years in our relationship going on, and we've always had a fascination with each other's areas of expertise, and we've done lots of things to marry them together over the years, in addition to literally getting married. And and actually, herbalists and astrologers have married the subjects of herbs and planets together for thousands of years as well. Now, your program is focused on, you know, uh, herbalism. It's not an astrology course, but there is certainly a lot of overlap in terms of the energetics and the spiritual approach to herbalism that you take. And so I was hoping that we could start off just by telling people a little bit about the program. You're coming to this after taking a little bit of time on maternity leave. Our kids were not yet in school. Now they are. You're coming back to work. This is really exciting. The new program launches at the end of April. I'm going to put it up on the screen so people can see it. You can find it at skyhouseherbs.com. Enrollment is open now. The course begins. You go under Courses, Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship at the end of April. Tell us about it.
Well, this course, I guess my goal in redesigning the apprenticeship course that I've been teaching for 10 years is to make it even more personal and to allow people to study the material, digest it at their own pace. So what it's going to be is a combination of kind of three main parts. The first one is the recorded material. So there's going to be modules that will be released, and people can listen to them as they have time. The second part are live classes where we will meet live on Zoom and talk about the module, I'll answer questions, I'll give even more information about it. And then the third part is the sacred plant pairings. And so I've always taught the herbal portion, like the plant diets, one at a time, but this year I'm going to do it in pairs because I think you can learn a lot by comparing and contrasting herbs. So for every module, you'll have 2 herbs to study, and you'll get a little cheat sheet about them before you start the module. And then you'll have an opportunity to work with those 2 plants and blend them and keep them separate and just really work with them closely. Because my goal is that I want people to be able to find information that they can really use in their own lives, maybe with clients, whether they have a professional herbal practice or maybe they're a therapist in a different field, that they'll know these plants so that they can work with them really comfortably.
I love the different modules that you have just so we can preview them for people. Module 1 is Vitalism and the Heart of Herbalism. Module 2, Building Your Home Apothecary. They're so diverse. I love Module 3 is my favorite, Plant Spirit Medicine. Energetics and chemistry. You have such a holistic approach. It's what I've always loved about your teaching. You'll teach about the doctrine of signatures. You'll talk to people about how to communicate with plants, how to think of them as teachers that are living beings that have personalities that aren't just phytochemistry or whatever, but you will also teach phytochemistry. And I think that you have this really well-rounded way of helping people be intelligent about the plants, about the body, about the systems of the body, but also not afraid to use energetic systems, not afraid to take something from the kinds of energetics that ancient mystics were working with, whether that's the elements or whether that's, some of the overlay with things like Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. You take what's useful on a symbolic and energetic plane and on a personal connection level with the plants, and you marry it to really smart scientific research. I think that's rare. You don't see that a lot.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, to me, it's all language. They're just different languages that we talk about the same thing. And I think the more diverse our languages as herbalists, the more we can reach more people. And that's kind of my goal. Like, I want everyone to be able to identify plants, use plants. So we need to diversify the languages we speak so we can talk with our physicians, so we can talk with a therapist, we can talk with a mystic, right? We can talk with children, and we have a language that everyone can use.
You talk in the program, in your modules, you have stuff on digestive and gut health. You have stuff on detoxification, colds and flus, and dealing with virus seasons. You talk about tissue states, and you're talking about how to give things to your kids for helping them maybe at times even relax before bed at night. We use a lot of different things with our kids. I love this, that you have called this a, I'm going to find the phrase where you use, and I'm going to mess it up. A community herbalist. What is a community herbalist, so that people can understand that definition? Because sometimes people might look at a course like this and think, gosh, unless I go to an accredited university for 8 years and learn all about chemistry, I have no right or business suggesting herbs to people or using herbs. That's just not true. And that's not the history of how folk herbal medicine has been used or taught. So what do you mean when you say community herbalist?
I think you said it perfectly. This is the people's medicine, and our grandmothers and great grandparents used plants as medicine. There's nothing actually that like hard about the practice of herbal medicine. It's just getting to know the plants and getting to know the times when they're most useful. I really envision that this course, people can take it and, yes, use it for themselves, number one, because I think a lot changes when we have the personal experience, and then using it in your family, whether that's just, maybe making a tea for your dog, or, if you have kids, or maybe you just have a partner, maybe you have plants you can use, and we'll talk about taking care of a garden, but using it for yourself, for whoever's immediately around you, and then taking it beyond that, because it's likely that at some point you're going to be talking with someone. They're going to say, oh, I've got this digestion thing and I've tried this and this. And they might say, hey, you're studying herbs. Is there anything that you would recommend? And you know what? You'll probably have a few ideas. And that, you never know how one way that you help someone out there in the world might trickle and then help others and more people. So I think through the self-knowledge and studying this knowledge in your own body, it'll naturally, it's like, impossible for it not to spread out and start to affect the broader community.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This is also for that reason, because we have a vision. I mean, you guys know through my Kickstarter, you guys helped us build a community herbal medicine garden that Ashley's been hosting free and donation-based events out of, that the donations go right back into the garden and just growing the medicine that we then find ways of harvesting and giving to other people, or letting other people come and harvest. We have a vision, we always have, back to the days when we had our yoga studio in Maryland. We have always had a vision of making this sacred knowledge accessible to people. And that is both there in this program in terms of the way you're framing what it means to be an herbalist. It might mean that you're a professional and you see clients, and you could continue beyond this program developing the skills to do that. This would certainly set you up for success. You could also go forward and be someone who uses what you know with friends and family and yourself. And that's an incredible set of tools to have. The program's also very accessible from both a programming standpoint and a price standpoint. I'm going to take you back over and show everybody the programs. The modules are pre-recorded, but then you meet outside of the modules for discussion, community, Q&A, and sort of development and integration. So people can attend those live. If they miss those integration sessions, they can also watch the replays of those. So
absolutely, yeah.
Anyone could take this at their own rate, as slowly or as quickly as you wanted to, really soak it in, or blaze through it. And then we can certainly, beyond this program, as Ashley perhaps makes more advanced programs available as she's easing back in out of maternity leave, can help you with further development or recommend you to many other wonderful programs where you could continue your studies. We want this to be accessible. We want community herbalism to be, as simple as being able to show a friend a couple of yoga stretches. We should be able to show each other herbs, and just, hey, this is a helpful herb to use. Also, accessibility price-wise, we have an early bird enrollment, and we have standard enrollment. And then we have tuition level 1 assistance and tuition assistance level 2, which break out the affordable tuition into different levels of affordability. And you can kind of identify where you're at if you're someone who wants to take this program, but needs to work within your means and not hurt yourself doing it. And then for those who can pay, we ask that you use standard or early bird enrollment. And that's the same thing I do for all my astrology programs. So we try to keep it super, super accessible. The Herbal Apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I know Ashley's super excited to be getting back into teaching too. I also would like to offer Ashley just a chance to tell everyone a little bit about, before we end here this interview, tell everyone maybe a little bit about your own background, who you studied with, what your influences are, and just anything else you want to say before we cap it off.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think, I started off as a kid playing in the woods, mixing perfumes and potions. And then I went on to study environmental science, where I studied organic chemistry and restoring native wetlands. And really, from an environmental perspective, that's how I got into herbalism. And then after, I realized, after working on the restoration piece and joining a lot of earth advocacy groups, that the problem's not with the earth, but with the people not understanding the value of the earth. So then I started going into holistic medicine. I graduated from University of North Carolina, Asheville, with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. And I went on to get my that was my undergrad, and then I got my master's from the Maryland University of Integrative Health. It was then called Thai Sophia. But my teachers there, I had such a great blend of teachers, really scientific minds, like Simon Mills from the UK, and Kevin Spellman, who is like a chemistry genius. He's also an Ayurvedic practitioner who studied with Dr. Vasant Lad. Matthew Prisco, medicine maker from Galen's Way out in California. So I had a really wonderful, diverse variety of teachers in that 3-year full-time master's level program. And then after that, I went on to study with Matthew Wood pretty intensively, because I liked his energetics. I liked the way he spoke about the plants and his personal experience working with low dose, drop dose medicine. And he has had amazing he's done such amazing work herbally with just using that method. And gosh, I've got a lot of herbalists in my
David
basket.
Duke comes to mind, and
Jim Duke.
Jim Duke. Sorry,
Jim
my bad.
Duke, Margie Flint, Rosemary Gladstar is like, I've only done one herb walk with her, but it was amazing. So, I have shelves of herbal books and people who I just adore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I've had that blend of the science and the energetic herbalism and the traditional herbalist perspective as well. And I try my best to blend them together and to give everyone a really diverse yet integrated herbal studying experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that. That is exactly what you'll get if you sign up for Ashley's program, which I encourage you to do. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, you won't regret it. It's a fantastic course with someone I absolutely love, obviously, but also like a really, truly fantastic human being and teacher of plant medicine. And if you want to learn more about her, see her work, get to know her a little bit, check out her YouTube channel, Skyhouse Herbs, where she publishes weekly on plant medicine, plant energetics, and also on Instagram, which is Skyhouse Herbs. So the apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I wanted to get Ashley on, brag about her program, turn you guys on to it. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure that we're going to see some people from the Nightlight astrology world getting introduced to you and all of your magic.
I would love that. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, everyone.